I would like to, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
It seemed a fairly ordinary life that Edgar Allan Poe and his wife, Virginia Clem, a fairly young and in love couple, despite being cousins, led when Poe began an affair with Frances Sargent Osgood, an ex-student and now lover to Poe.
It's true, it was a purely intellectual affair, consisting of exchanging poems. It's true also that the affair ended shortly after he first published the poem containing a misspell of his lover's middle name. But, him being a poet and a scorned one at that, well, he wasn't going to let his misspelled, wrongly inspired poem be the one for which he was remembered. He republished the poem, and it would be remembered for a very long time. This poem comes off as a mere love poem. However, with careful inspection, this poem is not as simple as it appears to be. It is a lyric poem with a simplistic ABAB, CD rhyme scheme. The poem begins addressing an unnamed her to whom the poem is written. He proceeds with a simile in which he compares her eyes to the twins of Leda. He is not comparing the women's eyes to children.
Rather to stars, as, in Greek mythology, Zeus impregnated Leda with twins who became the brightest stars in the Gemini constellation.
This compliment, however, appears to be backhanded because, in astrology, Gemini symbolizes one being two-faced. Poe proceeds with the poem, hinting that his muse shall find her own sweet name upon the page, instructing readers to search the poem for it. He refers to this name as a treasure divine, a talisman and amulet, a metaphor which brings back the idea that there is an attractiveness in this woman whom he just insulted. He instructs the audience to read his poem carefully, as they might miss her name, then assuring that
There is no Gordian knot.
this is a reference to Alexander the Great's famous struggle where he was told to untie an impossible knot. Frustrated by this unsolvable challenge, Alexander drew his sword and cut the knot in half, as this was the only possible way to untie it. Poe is informing readers that his riddle is not so tricky and can be solved easily. As he continues, Poe mentions that the name is a poet's too, giving the audience the hint that his subject is also a poet. He then says that her name, like the knight Pinto, Mendez Ferdinand, still form a synonym for truth.
Ferdinand Mendes Pinto
Was a Portuguese explorer who became infamous for telling tall tales of his adventures, so much so that his name in Portugal became synonymous with lying. Poe is saying that his Valentine is as truthful as Pinto, and therefore a liar. He ends the poem by teasing the audience, saying that they will not read the riddle, no matter how hard they try. Poe is overly cocky in this assumption, however, because his clues within the poem give readers exactly what they need to discover the name. It is an acrostic poem,
meaning that a letter from each line is taken to reveal a hidden word or message.
However, Poe did not want his secret to be so easily detectable, and thus added a bit of challenge. Rather than have the first letter of each line create the name, it is instead the number of the letter in the line, which corresponds to the line number. Thus, in line 1, the letter is the first F, but in the second line, it is the second letter R. Once a letter is taken from each line, it is revealed that Frances Sargent Osgood is in fact the subject of this work.
An acrostic poem, meaning that a letter...
in the shot.
Hi, beautiful!
Not want his secret to be so easily detectable, and thus, baby,